Cambridge, Maryland, surrounded by the bounty of the Chesapeake Bay and the lush farmland of the Eastern Shore, was once the engine that drove the region's economy as a national hub for food production and canning.
Phillips Packing Company was founded in 1902, and so if we think about what Cambridge was like around the turn of the century, there were 1 million bushels of oysters shucked annually in Cambridge, second only nationwide to Baltimore. So there's this really thriving economy, and then the Phillips Packing Company is founded and very quickly grew, and at one point we believe employed about 1/4 of the population of the city.
Phillips was started by 3 gentlemen. That was G.W. Winterbottom, Albanus Phillips, and Levi Phillips. In 1902, they started the company. They were very smart businessmen. They started off with 1 factory and it built up to several all over the entire county.
We talk about the impact of the Phillips Packing Company as it relates to the jobs that the company provided, but there was also wonderful trickling effects into other industries. So they were buying produce from Delmarva farmers, and we know in 1937 they bought $1 million of produce. And so if we escalate that, or if we take inflation up through today, it's like buying $19 million. One company buying $19 million from producers today.
Oh, it was huge. It was the livelihood of thousands of folks in Dorchester County. Our watermen became very dependent on who they could sell their product to, and along with that would be our farmers. But it was the center focal point, I think, of Dorchester County during its day.
There's prominent and significant national history related to the Phillips Packing Company. They supplied K rations for the United States during World War I, and they were the largest supplier of K rations for the U.S. during World War II, which is significant.
Anything that you could put in a can, as far as food-wise to feed the troops, that's what it was.
So very much it was the economic backbone. And Factory F is significant in that it is the last remaining factory from what was a 60-acre campus of the Phillips Packing Company.
Well, my goodness, if you walked in, it would depend on what plant you're walking into. Everything was in-house. Everything was done. Everything from the packing boxes were made. You had people who would put labels for the shipping boxes. You had people who were picking tomatoes, dividing up the tomatoes, getting rid of the bad tomatoes. It was all done in-house. It was just your average working folks.
Almost everyone in Cambridge that has been there for a period of time or his family has a story. It might not be their story, but it might be their grandmother's story, or my dad told me once that. And generally, there's a connection, there's a positive affiliation that they're making.
So it was just very much a community. Everybody knew everybody, everybody grew up with each other, and everybody worked together. We're talking generations after generations. It was total mixture. You could be a man, you could be a woman, you could be black, you could be white. People just needed a job, and that was the best place to work at the time.
But you get in there, and there's a second-story catwalk. And I spent many days taking people through the building, and I'd stand up on the catwalk, and it overlooks the 3- to 4-story atrium area. And it's all brick and steel, and the windows go up for the entirety of that space. And I would sit there and think about what it must have been like when the factory was running. And there are pictures in the archives, and we can't identify which factory they are, but the workers are all in white uniforms, and they're in lines, and they're canning, and they're cooking, and to stand there and think about the energy that place must have embodied during that time, and the ability to stand there again and see that energy, but in a way that supports the community and the building today.